Hey guys, it's Danny. Today we're going to discuss about when to up-pot orchids, meaning when we should transfer them to a bigger pot than the one they currently are living in. And to start off, let me just say that orchids do not really mind being pot-bound, having crowded roots in their pots. Why? Well, because they are epiphytes. They are used to living on surfaces, attaching to surfaces. So the roots being crowded only means that they feel attached to stuff, whether it's the sides of the pot, whatever media you have in the pot, or even attached to the other roots. So from this regards, orchids are not necessarily like other plants. They will not stop growth if the roots are very crowded in the pot. They will be quite happy. However, there are other issues that can arise with a pot-bound orchid. So let's take Phalaenopsis orchids, which have pretty thick roots compared to other orchids. If they get really pot-bound, they will obviously not mind it, but let's consider other aspects. For example, the quantity of medium you will still have left in your pot. Now, because the roots grow and take up more space, your medium will start to literally jump off the pot. It will disappear as roots grow. How does this happen? Well, when you water an orchid, a few pieces might go in the sink. If you soak an orchid, again, a few pieces might go into the water and you're gonna throw them away. Sometimes a few pieces will fall from the pot. You'll find them on the shelf and you're just gonna throw them away or put them back just so they actually fall again. The process is actually pretty slow, so you will not notice when your medium disappears. This happens to chunky medium, like bark chips, coconut husk even, and of course, Ceramis and leca. This will not happen with moss, but what will happen is the moss will compact so much that it will be trapped in between the roots. This, however, doesn't mean it will retain more water because you actually have the same quantity of moss. It will just be compacted and it might not touch all the roots. The end result is the same with bark and sphagnum moss and whatever medium you are growing your orchids in the sense that the pot will dry out much faster. Because one, the quantity of roots increased, but the medium either stayed the same or decreased. Also, because the roots constantly absorb moisture, the pot will hold either the same amount of water or less, so this will contribute as well. And overall, you can end up with a pot that just dries in one single day, and it will require you to water every single day because of the massive amount of roots inside the pot. So at this point, you can understand why it might become a problem. Maybe you don't have time to water every single day, and your orchid is in danger of being dehydrated over time. At this point, it is really safe to up-pot your orchid. Try to choose a pot which will not be super big, but it can accommodate the whole entire root system, even if a little snug. The idea is that you should be able to provide a good enough amount of medium for the pot to stay moist at least a few days, so it's comfortable for you to grow your orchid and water it. Now, of course, orchids can create aerial roots. However, this might not help too much because your environment might not be too humid. It might actually be dry. It can also mean that you will need to spray the aerial roots that are not inside the pot every day to maintain them alive. Overall, it's pretty much a watering issue more than anything else. Now, I have an example to show you. This is a Cattleya orchid, not a Phalaenopsis. However, this guy produces a massive amount of roots within one season, one spring, summer, and some autumn time. But you can already see that the medium is starting to fall apart or actually fall out of the pot, and every day I find new pieces next to the orchid simply because the roots are really starting to take over the pot. And I'll show you what I mean. If you dig a little bit, you remove a few pieces, you can see the roots swirling inside the pot. So what this does is displace this medium, and because Ceramis does not compact, what else can it do but just fall out of the pot? So when this starts to happen with your orchid and you notice that the pot is full of roots and not so much medium, you can definitely repot the orchid. It's not the case with the Cattleya. He has a very specific type of growth, but with orchids like Phalaenopsis, other monopodials, even Sympodial orchids, definitely it's a sign that you can up-pot your orchid. Now, another thing that can happen to Sympodial orchids is the creation of roots outside the pot. And I believe Sympodials and Cattleyas and Oncidiums in particular are more prone to this than Phalaenopsis orchids. the phals will pretty much create roots all over the place, even outside the pot. That's pretty okay because Phalaenopsis usually hang on to their roots quite a lot of time. However, Sympodials rely on new sets of roots with each season or each new growth. So what will happen is, as you can see, the rhizome will grow and extend to the edge of the pot, and what will happen is the new growth will start to produce aerial roots outside of the pot or even on the pot. If you have a clay pot, this can be okay because clay stays moist, but with a plastic pot, it might be a little problematic. You can end up with some roots that do not develop properly if your environment is not humid and you cannot keep up with maintaining the aerial roots hydrated. As the orchid grows, the older roots will not perform as great, and as I was saying, Sympodial orchids do rely on new roots produced seasonally or whenever a new growth matures. So in the end, what will happen, your orchid will start to grow out of the pot, all of the roots will be in the air, they might not grow properly, they will not extend, and thus you can see what the problem is. Again, it's a dehydration problem. Not to mention, it will not look so pretty. Maybe the rhizome will take different angles, awkward angles. Some angles might be detrimental to the overall health of the orchid. So at this point, you kind of know it's time to provide a bigger pot to your orchid. With Sympodials, you can actually choose to divide them if you have a very, very big orchid and you cannot provide a very, very big pot, or you think that a big pot will be detrimental. It's pretty debatable with Sympodial orchids what you should do. It depends on the orchid, depends on your environment, your situation, and of course your lifestyle and how you grow your orchids. If you have the time to properly hydrate them or not, and you just want to have an easy life with them but still enjoy them and grow them healthy. But in any case, with Sympodials, growing out of the pot, having the rhizome come off of the pot is a sign that you can definitely up pot your orchid or divide your orchid and use two of the same size pots. So thank you for suggesting this video. It was a really interesting question that I didn't talk about in the past. And before I let you go, please take a moment to rate this video below with a like or a dislike. A share would be fabulous. These are things that really help my channel. Subscribe to my channel as well if you want to see other orchid videos from me, and always feel free to leave me questions or suggestions down below. I always read my comments and I always respond. If you ever want to send me a letter, you can do so at the address you see on the screen or in the description below. And also you can choose an option on the screen right now if you'd like to watch another orchid video from me or visit my website orchidnature.com. Thank you for joining. I'll see you all next time. Bye!